Folks, Dr. D here again with another production lesson. Today I'm going to be teaching and talking about scaling and shaping. So, scaling and shaping, what the hell is that? So, first of all, shaping is the idea of like having sounds that change and morph and kind of like grow and evolve from one part of the song into the next part of the song. And it's a good way of changing and developing interest in your song and adding some of that cool post-production ear candy kind of stuff that makes a simple song kind of more interesting. Um, Scaling, the other principle, is the idea of layering texturally the sounds that you have. So if you have a voice, you could sing and record it, or you could sing your voice twice and sing the same things and layer that on the choruses or on certain notes. You could sing your octave above your voice, an octave higher than your voice, to add another texture. You could duplicate and pitch shift and EQ and all the kinds of effects to another duplicate voice and have that layered on top of it. You could do that with sounds too. Synths are really easy, and MIDI is really easy because you can just duplicate the MIDI track and change the sound, the virtual instrument, the software instrument that you're using, in any way, and develop a really complex, deeper, layered sound. And then you can pan these things apart and get like really huge wideness going on with that as well. So it's a good way to add some extra ear candy and some more interest into your music, more drama and more evolution and evolving. One great example of this is Com Truise is an artist that I think does this very well. If you check out his album Galactic Milt, that would be a great example of what I'm talking about, how this stuff can be utilized, because a lot of times with a song, if you have a stagnant beat going on for longer than, 4 bars, like it's getting boring. And things need to evolve. So this is the album I'm talking about. Check this out, the Com Truise album, Galactic Milt, and that would be a good one to kind of use as an example of this. Okay, so let's get in. I'm going to show this in Ableton Live. So here we go. Let me minimize my little picture of myself here. And what we have here is a song that I was kind of messing around with. It's nothing serious, but it has some drums, and then it builds into a bass. Okay, and then there's a guitar, a jazzy guitar going, and then there's this Fender Rhodes thing that happens down here a little bit later. So anyway, a couple layers, whatever. Let's make it more interesting, okay? So shaping. How about the drums? We shape the drums. There's like 4 bars of drums, and then something happens. But we could have the drums morph and evolve. So what I can do is automate some sort of parameter. I could automate the volume by right-clicking and choosing Show Automation, and I could start automating by clicking on the automation lane and changing the curve of that and build a crescendo, like an automation of the volume. That's okay. It's not bad, but we can also do something a little bit more interesting, like maybe put a filter, some kind of EQ filter on there, and have the drum start from a kind of nasally high frequency, and then boom, open up like that. So that's kind of what I want to do. I want to do that, and the way I'm going to do that is, there's several ways of doing this, but I already have automation lanes shown. This is the Show Automation button up here. And when I right click on any parameter anywhere, and I choose Show Automation, it will change the parameter that I just clicked on and right clicked, and it'll set that as the automation lane. So I want things to start a little bit up there. I can see where I was down here on my EQ filter, and then I want it to slowly open up. And say I want to have an angled kind of sloped curve to it, I can hold down Option on a Mac, and I can set that to be kind of a curved line. It's got my little drums going. Uh-oh, what's happening? 2, 3, 4, boom, right? Build some intensity there. So that was an example of shaping. We could do that all over the place with a lot of different ways. But the idea is, as you come in and out of sections and you're using loops, these loops have to morph and change and do something interesting. Every 4 bars something should happen with, really good music that's produced well in any genre. I mean, EDM to bluegrass. The instruments kind of evolve what they're doing every 4, 8, 16 bars or something, so that they're not just playing the same thing over and over again. That sometimes happens, but it just gives a little bit more interest and ear candy to the listener as things kind of like move, and then you build up this dramatic effect as you go into a new section of a song. It's like, whoa, here it comes, boom. Hey, that just brought up another idea. Another way I can do this is having like volume swells of things, like backwards keyboards or backwards cymbal splashes. That's a nice way of doing it. That's kind of what I like to do a lot, and I'll show you that real quick. So I'm just going to find a sample of a crash cymbal. All right, so I've got a crash cymbal sound. I can drag that bad boy down here onto one of my audio tracks, and I want it to go backwards. I want it to like swell and swish, almost like a noise, type of swell before a drop. So if I switch to my view of the audio parameters here, I have the option of reversing right about here that cymbal sound. And what I can do is I can kind of trim it a little bit and set it so it swells right into the beginning of that beat drop. Got my drums all nasally. Wait for it. Boom. All right. Yeah, cheesy, whatever. It works. Put it in the background, mix it down. That I use this stuff all the time on a section change. It's kind of subtle sometimes, but it really does kind of bring you into it, build some intensity. Swells, you can do this a lot of different ways. Like if you have MIDI stuff going on, let's just focus on this. This is a virtual instrument, kind of a little keyboard riff. I could automate some kind of filter deal, but I could also get into the actual device, and I could mess with any of these parameters on the actual virtual instrument. So there's a lot going on here, but any of these things, let's see what it does. I don't know, noise. Not much there. Try this one. So I could choose that, and I could show automation, and now I have the old school bright setting, and I can go ahead and automate that to slowly open up. I can also automate things like, really subtly. I can just automate the simply. I can automate the panning and have this thing pan from left to right. That's another kind of cool thing when it comes out of left field or something. So over here, swirling around as it opens up, coming back to the center, boom, and boom. Automation of any parameter, volume, panning, any parameter that actually gives you a timbral, tonal change, or spatial change can give that same effect. Okay, let's talk about scaling now. So scaling more or less is just layering different textures. So first of all, I've got this bass sound going on here. It's really subby, which is cool if you have big speakers in your house or something, but there's no upper frequency definition at all. It's just kind of like it's hard to hear it unless you have big fat subs or something. So I'm going to duplicate that track, Command D. And looking at my device here, I've got this instrument rack, I got all this crap going on. I got this, I don't know, whoa, so much stuff. I'm going to delete all of that crap, and I'm going to replace it all with a different synth sound. So I'm going to go over here to my instruments and maybe type in some kind of buzz. Type in the word buzz and see what happens here, and I can kind of Okay, maybe that would be cool. Saw 4. All right, so I just dropped that on my secondary bass track, and with these two basses playing at once, now I've got some definition of upper frequency stuff. What about another one? Let's try buzzier. Ooh. That's really buzzy. Let's do that one too. So I'm going to duplicate this track once again. Command D, throw this on there. So now I have like bass. I'll put bass sub. I'm renaming these. Command R, of course, for renaming anything. Command R, bass, buzz, and bass hiss. So just so I can tell them apart when I'm mixing this later, okay? All right. Okay, cool. So I just scaled that sound up quite a bit. Maybe it's got a little bit too much buzz in it, and when you compare these three, but I can kind of mix that into taste. Okay, so I just scaled that sound up. A lot more definition. There's a little bit more going on in the low and upper frequencies. I'm always thinking about the sort of up and down frequency range of low and high pitches and activity with the timbres and the tones of these sounds. And when I want to build something that's very thick and huge sounding, I want it to sound deep and wide. So one of the things I can do is I could pan some of this stuff apart. Maybe I pan my buzzy elements of this sound to the left and right speakers and leave that subby stuff in the middle. There we go. Balance it out. My right speaker seems a little quieter. There we go. Now I've got this big thing going on. And wouldn't it be cool if all that kind of morphed around, like especially the stuff on the left and right? Wouldn't it be cool if they're kind of like subs in the middle, but outer stuff moving, scaling and shaping? So I could just literally just automate my one sound here. I can have it kind of zig and zag across the thing, and I can also maybe come down here and show automation for the other synths, panning, and do kind of the opposite thing and see what it does. Okay, so I mean, there's so many possibilities. This is just one silly example of how you can scale and shape sounds. If it's a voice, it's pretty, you could also do voice layering by just singing something twice. If I recorded a voice, I might sing. Let me just sing something. Oh, here we go real quick here. Don't laugh. It'll be funny, and we'll see what happens. And headphones on. Check, 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 check. Here we go. I'm checking the mic. Checking the mic. Hey, here we go. I'm checking the mic. All right. So I'm going to duplicate that track, and that's actually, I'm going to call that Vox now. Vox. I got to rename my tracks before I actually record them, because if I don't, look what happens. It names the audio file after the track name. So it's one thing you want to do that first, not like I just did. So I've got another vocal track, but I'm going to sing it higher. I'm going to sing an octave higher now. Let's see here. Here we go. I'm checking the mic. And I'm going to layer that. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm checking the mic. Here we go. Checking the mic. Checking the mic. Okay. So back into reality. Let's hear my vocal layers. Here we go. I'm checking the mic. A little bit more. Here we go. I'm checking the mic. Checking the mic. Here we go. I'm checking the mic. Okay, so it's a texture. Guitars do that all the time. You'll record the acoustic guitar strumming part, and then you'll re-record the entire acoustic guitar strumming part and pan them left and right, and all of a sudden you've got this huge sounding guitar solos, guitar rhythm stuff. You can just layer guitars, put a capo on, play the chords differently, layer 4 different G, C, D chord progressions, keyboards, synths, voices, you name it. Anything that is going on in your music that you want to have a little bit extra spice to. You can do some scaling and morphing as the song evolves and the thing moves from section to section, from verse to chorus. And you can also use textural layering to duplicate tracks or re-record tracks on top of other tracks and have, rather than one voice, two voices, harmonies, choir. You can apply it to any sound, basses, anything. Anyway, so the idea is make your music more interesting, more depth, more ear candy. So the second time and third time you're listening to it, you hear cool stuff happening. You're like, whoa, wow, I never noticed that. So that's today's segment on production tricks, scaling and shaping. Be sure to subscribe and keep producing music, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, y'all.
Here we go. I'm checking the mic. Checking the mic.
Nope.
Check.